What if taking care of your body wasn't really just about discipline or perfection, but more about trust? Because when a woman understands her body, she shows up with more confidence, and that changes so many things, including her relationships. Today, I have a guest, and we're going to talk about well being that actually translates into real life, the tools we need, the mindset we need, and just the whole picture. Stay tuned. We're going to dig in. The secret formula of femininity for women who want to live a more feminine, fun, and fabulous life. I'm Dr. Nicole Monteiro, your host on this weekly journey to unlocking your inner radiance, nurturing fulfilling relationships, and becoming the best version of yourself. Welcome back, everybody, to the secret formula of femininity. I'm your host and guide on this journey to tapping into your feminine essence. And as you can see, today I have a guest. I love my guest episodes, and this one is going to be amazing. Jason Harris and I met in a community that we're in together. We had a phone call, we've been in touch, and I am so intrigued about his journey, not just the work he does and how it impacts women, but his journey to getting there. So we're going to talk. We're just going to have fun. We were chatting before this and we said, let's just have fun with it. But I do want him to really highlight how the tools that he's involved with and the aspect of wellness and well-being that he's involved with really helps women holistically, not just their bodies, but how they feel. And of course, from my perspective, what's so important is the relationship aspect as well. So, welcome, Jason. I'm so glad we've been trying to do this. I'm so happy to have you. Welcome to the secret formula of femininity.
I really appreciate it. It's always an honor when I get asked to be a guest. And when you and I first started connecting, it just kind of seemed like we're on that same wavelength, right? We were just kind of vibing, and
Yeah.
it was just such a natural, easy, fun conversation from the jump. And when you're telling me about some of the work that you do, and especially in some of the women's lives, I've been in the wellness space for a little while now, about 16 plus years, and
Mhm.
I work with a lot of females, and it's been a real journey understanding the differences of some of the ways that women view everything from aging to the relationships
Mhm.
with themselves, everything versus a man. So
Mhm.
it's been a fun journey learning some of that, but it's such an honor to be able to help somebody. Not only create a better relationship with themselves, because I think that's outside of your creator, that's one of the number one relationships that you need
Mhm.
to have
Mhm.
solid. If you don't have a good relationship with yourself or love yourself, how do you truly serve and love other people? But also just some of the issues that you deal with, if we can help to fine tune some of that, so you have better self esteem. I used to joke all the time, when you get out of the shower, you should be like, when you look at
Ooh.
yourself, like, hey, hey, and not
Uh-huh.
oh, like, what's going on?
Yes.
Because that affects so many things of how we view ourselves, and if we don't hold ourselves with confidence, or we don't feel good in our own skin, it affects almost every area of your life. So when you were telling me about what you do and some of the work, I mean, I was super excited and honored to be a part of your community, and
Yeah.
hopefully I can add a lot of value to and get people to think a little bit differently about their health, their longevity, and even their relationship with themselves.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. So, what is one of the most surprising things I heard you said, and even before we were talking, like how you were part of these women's communities? They forgot you were in their room and they were just talking candidly. What was one of the most, or some of the most surprising things that you discovered about how we operate as women?
Sometimes, honestly, it was some of the insecurities
Mm.
that they were dealing with from the outside looking in, or from the outside relationship I had with them. You would think they were like had it together, like some of
Mm.
the most strong, confident people. And then all of a sudden you're realizing, like, man, they're battling with some of the same things that sometimes
Mhm.
we all battle with. But
Yeah.
and just the way sometimes, you could look at someone and said, man, they're pretty in shape, they're, good looking people, and but yet they're still dealing, like, how they saw themselves was
Mm.
completely different from what the world was seeing. Or even on a psychological level, people not thinking, I'm looking at somebody as especially on a part of our business, as a strong leader with so much value to share, but they didn't like what do I have to share? Like they didn't even
Mm,
think their voice was almost worth sharing, you know? And
yeah,
so it was just interesting to see some of that behind the scenes, I guess, psychological, things that are
yeah,
going on that from the outside looking in, I was like, man, these people have it together, but yet not so much. They're
yeah,
still battling some of those same things that, I'm sure we all deal with at different stages of our lives.
yeah. Now you've been married for what, a few decades? Like
Yeah, this year will be 30 years. May will be 30
oh
years.
my
Yeah, we got
god.
married when we were 20 years old. We're just in love. We're
Uh,
broke. We just, want to get married. And yeah, it's been a wild ride. So I told her this year it's going to be an amazing year because we both turned 50. I actually turned 50 today. Today's my
okay.
birthday.
Oh, happy
So I get to
birthday.
spend it
Oh
with you. It's
my gosh.
awesome.
Yes.
So yeah, we both
Wow.
turned 50 this year. It'll be 30 years of marriage. And then we're going to have our first granddaughter this year. So it's going to
Oh,
be
yes, that is
amazing.
amazing. Yes. Oh my gosh. Do you know if it's a girl or a boy?
Gonna be a girl, and we
Okay.
had 3 boys, and so my wife is ecstatic to
I
have a
can
little girl to just love on and spoil, and it's
yeah.
gonna be, definitely a new experience for us because, like I said, all we raised was boys, but, yeah, we're super excited, so hopefully, toward the end of June, we're gonna meet our
I
granddaughter, so, yeah, it's gonna be fun. We're super
That's
excited.
awesome. Yeah. So what did you learn about women's strengths and struggles just through your wife being with her for 30 years?
Well, and that's been really interesting too because we grew up. We started dating when we were 15. We were
Mhm.
freshmen in high school, and we kind of had two really opposite types of backgrounds of
Mm,
family. My parents they're pretty traditional. My mom stayed at home.
mm.
She was the traditional Avon lady, but she just
Okay.
stayed at home. And my dad worked for AT&T for a lot of years, and then
Mm,
he when he retired from them, he worked for the school district, one of the school districts in Houston. And so it was a fairly traditional kind of normal house. Dad worked, mom was at home.
mm,
Hers was a lot opposite. My wife, unfortunately, her biological father committed suicide when she was 9. Um,
mm,
so her mom had a couple marriages, and she had a lot of addiction issues.
mm.
She was for most of her life battle. It was mainly alcohol,
Oh,
but she worked. She was a hairdresser, so she worked. So we saw a big contrast of difference of. I mean, honestly, we're dumb young teenagers. If we wanted
mhm.
to get away with anything, we went to her house because there was never anyone home.
Okay, yeah.
So but she witnessed a lot of trauma, really not really affected or toward her, but her mom was a part of some abusive
Mm,
relationships,
mm,
and just the um, how her mom was when she was drunk. Honestly, she's the sweetest, most giving, loving person ever. When she's sober, I've never seen anyone transform to be kind of one of the meanest, most hateful
mm,
people when she was drunk. And so my wife, just like I said, witnessed her mom have a lot of physical abuse, a lot of verbal abuse, just a real kind of a lot of turmoil in the house. But I look at how she is now, and the woman she's grown into, and the strength that she has
mm,
from that. But she had to develop that because she never understood. There's uh, a thing we teach sometimes called the game of three rules,
mm,
and one of them is the past is perfect. And when we first started going down that journey, she was like, "How is the past perfect?" My dad, killed himself when I was 9. During that same year, her mom suffered a pretty brutal rape that she was
mm.
literally in the next room, and I mean,
Oh
she heard
gosh.
everything. And then all this, seeing her mom get beat up a few times, and just all this stuff, and this the turmoil that led into of this household of chaos. And I'm like, but the way you can relate to people, the compassion you have with people, the how you can get almost on a spiritual level with people and connect with them and relate. I can't do that. Like
Mm,
I'm a real black and white guy sometimes.
yeah.
It's just like, all right, here's a problem,
Kind of
fix it.
it's this or that, kind of that,
Yeah. Yeah, and so, like, the strength that has come out of that and the people she's been able to help, minister to,
Mm,
mentor, it was a big journey because she always had this almost like this meekness or this, like, looked at herself as small, like, I what am
yeah,
I gonna share? Or even on a business sense, her mom spent every dollar she ever made. She never saved. She never did anything. So even her financial literacy was like, there was no ever talk of savings, investing, or even being business owners and being
yeah,
able to create income. It was always like, well, just go find some job and just deal with it.
kinda deal with the
Um,
present. Uh-huh.
yeah. And so there was a lot, seeing that growth in her, and there's even times still today. I was like, man, if you could see you how I see you, like, you
Mm,
would be a unstoppable force. Like, you would just freaking run the world. But, sometimes again, it's how we view ourselves,
yeah.
and why we do that. Man, we could talk about that for hours. I don't know why we come down and view ourselves sometimes as these, like, less than capable,
Yes.
or even less than in a lot of areas.
Yeah. That's a key thing. That is the theme that I see in all of my work. Clients that I've worked with from all walks of life, like you said, from the top achievers to those who may struggle more. And it's that theme of like how they see themselves.
Mhm.
And that is the key determiner. Like it's not how other people, because other people tend to see others in a either neutral or positive light. Like we
Right.
don't, as humans, we don't just go in like, oh, that person's horrible. We tend to be forgiving. And it's like we're the ones that are unforgiving of ourselves. I love
Yeah.
hearing what you said though, because so many people feel like you have to go into a relationship perfectly formed, but it sounds
Yeah.
like you guys evolved so much together.
Oh, man. It's night and day, again, because my wife, like I said, when we were married, I mean, we didn't have 2 cents to rub together. Thankfully, my parents, I mean, it was a fairly small, wedding. It wasn't anything fancy. I mean, I
Uh-huh.
think the whole thing cost maybe like $3,500 maybe.
Okay.
Like, I mean, it
Uh-huh.
was I mean, my first wedding ring it was a $79 white gold band from, I don't know, J.C. Penney's or
Uh-huh.
somewhere.
Back then, yeah.
What we could afford. And I mean, I remember financing her first wedding ring for like 10 months, no interest, but it was like
Uh-huh.
$700. Well, we didn't have it. I mean, I
Yeah.
had to pay that sucker off. But, it would, and I remember one day joking with her. I was like, honey, or not really joking, but I was
Mm.
like, one day we're going to be millionaires one day. And like her mindset was almost like, "Oh, that's cute. Like, yeah, sounds great, dear,
Yeah.
but I think at the time I worked for our local city. I live in Southeast Texas,
Mm.
and uh, and so I was working for a local municipality. I think making like $9 an hour at the time. She was working at Dillard's, going through school, and I'm talking to her with these big dreams, and
Mm.
it was so foreign to her. Like the financial, like I said, the financial literacy and how to create income it was just for her. It was like 95% of people, what we're taught here in America is just go to work, or go to
Mhm.
school, find a job, stay there your whole life. Hopefully you have enough health and retirement at 65,
Mhm.
70 years old after you wasted 30, 40 years for a company to enjoy life. And I don't know. My dad always, even though he was an employee his whole life, but he always taught me like there's no limits. Like if you're willing to work hard,
Mhm.
you can achieve whatever. And I never knew what I wanted to do. I mean, I never went to college, but I was always willing just to work hard, and to not do what everyone told me I was supposed to do.
Mm.
For some reason, uh, I don't know. I mean, it's like not allowing the opinions of others to dictate your life.
That is
And
key.
I
Yeah.
realized a long time ago that a lot of people, their opinions aren't paying my bills or feeding my family. So
Yes,
it's
that's the
cool,
number one.
but if you're not writing a check, it's like,
You
what
can
is it
keep
really
it to
worth?
yourself, right? Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
sometimes people that are, I remember my first small business was a lawn and landscape company that I built. And I remember after about 5, 6 years of just grinding, we were finally making some pretty decent
Mm.
money. And then I had people that was probably making half of what we were telling me how crazy or stupid I was, or,
Yeah.
or when I was transitioning out of AT&T, because I'd started that business while I was working there. And in 2008, it kind of got to a point where I was like, I don't want this job anymore. I just want to be on my own, do my own thing. And people were telling me how, don't do, yeah, like everybody and their mother was like, don't do that. Don't leave that safe, secure job. Don't do all
Yeah,
this.
especially
And I'm,
back then, I'm sure, right?
oh, and I'm like, I'm losing money by going to work. Like I'm turning
Mhm.
down so much business. And like I said, and these are people making half the money I am, but they're giving me financial advice of what I should do for my family. And I'm like, and I started thinking, it's like, why am I even listening to this? Like,
Mhm.
again, they're
Knowledge
not right.
you had yeah, they're not right, and that is so the whole knowledge of yourself will
Yeah.
dictate, like, how convicted you can be in what you know you need to do. You
Yeah.
you mentioned, AT&T, so I wanna just tell the people because I wanted to just kinda start talking, but let me properly introduce you. So, Jason has been a small business owner since 2008 after leaving AT&T after a 10-year career. Now, that's something else. Like leaving after 10 years, you're probably really set in and comfortable. He's been in the fitness space for over 20 years and has really focused on wellness and longevity for over 16 years, helping people get the most life out of every year of their lives by leveraging simple steps anyone can take to improve their well being, as well as leveraging the latest biohacking tech to help people get even better results. See, that was the part that was right up my alley. I am super into the micro things you can do consistently, but I'm super into whether you want to call it technology, biohacks, like those extra things that can put the cherry on top and really
Right.
like up our what we're trying to do. So tell us about this part of the your well. So we know you did the landscaping after leaving AT&T, but what have you done in the fitness and wellness business, and what is this biohacking? Like how does it help women?
Yeah, well, I've always been interested in athletics. That's where my wife and I met. Actually, it was on the
Mm.
swim team.
Oh.
It was funny. There was a time I was helping the team. I wasn't actually competing, and so I was actually timing her relay. And I helped her get out of the pool. I don't know if it was the speedo or what, but she caught my eye. I was like, "Hey, what's happening?" And so we're both always kind of in athletics, but I went down that simple road too of a lot of people where I was going to the gym, and that was it. I was eating like garbage. I mean, you would looking at me, you'd never think I went to the gym,
Mm.
but I was working out. And I remember we went on vacation one time, and we got back, and it was back before digital everything, and so we got our pictures back after we had them developed, and I saw a picture of myself. I was like, daggum, I got a gut on me. Like what?
Ah,
I'm
uh-huh.
in my young 20s, man. Like what is that? You see yourself sometimes every day, you don't really notice it. And you see a picture of
Uh-huh. Then
yourself,
you
and I
see
was
the photo, you're like, "Oh my
like, oh
gosh."
my gosh, like what is happening?
Mhm.
And somewhere in me, I've always been really interested. I've joked for 20 plus years, like when I die, I want to go out like Elijah did, right? Like I want
Mm.
to be living life, and then like I'm just called up, you know,
Uh-huh.
because I've seen people, especially as technology's gotten better, people are living longer, but their quality of life is not keeping up.
Mhm.
So we kind of call it that health span or that youth span is not keeping up with our
With our
lifespan. So
lifespan, uh-huh.
yeah, we're living longer, but like I don't want to be 80 or 90 bedridden or immobile or not have
Yeah.
my mind to me. I want to be playing at 80, and like
Mm.
living life. And I've met people that are like that. I met a lady in Utah one time a few years back. She's in her 80s and skis almost every day. And most of her
Wow.
friends are in their 30s because they're the only other people on the ski slopes, right?
Yeah.
But she was so full of life. I'm like, man, I want to be like you. When I get old,
Yeah.
like this is awesome. So you start thinking, what is the real difference? And a lot of times, the old way of thinking is our genes are our genes, no matter what. Like it is what it is. Like so, if my dad had cancer and his dad had cancer, I'm probably going to get cancer. Like we thought
Uh-huh.
it was inevitable. Then we start as technology has gotten better, as science has gotten better, we realize that we can change the way we age. Like we can control, I'd say control it. We can have a big impact on the way we age. And this is what really got me down. So back in 2009, I really started kind of going down this road of wellness, not just fitness, but also just wellness and longevity
Hmm.
of how can we make small changes in our day to day that have the compound effect to years down the road, right?
Yeah.
And so I had really started looking at a lot of just small things that we can do because we know, like I'm just a very simple Bible believing guy. Like I believe if God made us in a way that if you feed your body what it needs, it will perform like it should. Okay, well let's see, what are we giving ourselves?
Mm.
And sadly, in today's world, the way they mass produce everything or genetically modify everything, and they're just raping all the good nutrients out of our
Mm.
food. And so most people are like, okay, I know I need help. I know I need to supplement. I know I need to do some of these things. Okay, but what supplement? I don't even know where to start. I mean, you can go to a store, you can go to a supplement store and get lost. They have
Yeah. It's
a
just
million.
tons and tons of, yeah,
Or
brands
even
and
you look
types.
at B12, there'll be 15 options of B12.
Yeah.
Which one's good? How
Capsules,
do
tablets,
I,
liquid, like
what do I do?
uh-huh.
And so then it really get down to, okay, if I decide on something because I know I need to give my body help because I'm not growing my own food, and
Mhm.
I'm not like doing all of that. Because you can do that yourself. You can, I mean, if you have your own garden and you're doing your own stuff and you have a really, really solid whole foods diet, you can eat your way, for lack of a better word, healthy. Most people don't have the time and or energy and sometimes the resources to do that. So people know they need to start supplementing, but then it goes to how do I know it works? And that's
Mm.
when I got connected to the company that I've been with now for over 16 years. Is they had technology that could actually measure in the tissue absorption. So a lot of people are consuming a lot of stuff. Okay, what is actually being absorbed versus what's being passed through your
So
system?
is that when you see, like, you take all these supplements and vitamins and then your urine has a certain color? Is it like it's
Sometimes.
literally going through your coming out your body?
Yeah, sometimes. Or we work with a lot of physicians, and they used to joke for years, like the Centrum is like they dubbed them in the hospital bedpan torpedoes because they would find whole capsules in the bedpans,
Oh
and
my,
it was because it's like digesting a brick.
yeah.
It's not
It's
breaking
not
down, it's not being
absorbing.
absorbed. They have great marketing, but it's not doing anything for you.
Uh-huh.
And that's why I literally joke with people, especially when we measure. And this is one of the pieces of technology I was telling you about. It's this little device that just launched in the marketplace. That when you turn it on, you literally just put your finger on it, and
Mhm.
it uses light, as you can see, to measure antioxidant concentration in your tissue. And so that's where most people, it's like, okay, if you're measuring in the tissue, it's a good biomarker last 4 to 6 weeks of what I've been doing versus blood serum is 2 or 3 days. So
Oh.
a lot of things can affect your blood, and it's a very short
Mhm.
window. This is like, okay, what have I been doing over the last month where my body's actually absorbing the nutrients? So I'm getting what I'm supposed to versus, like I said, a lot of people are literally flushing their money down the toilet. It's in one end, out the other.
Yeah.
And sadly in the supplement world, it's not really regulated. I mean, you and I could start a supplement company tomorrow,
Uh-huh.
and say, hey, here's this great new product.
Put a label
And
on it. Uh-huh.
yeah, put a good label, make it pretty, and but how does people know it's working? And so that's where, number one, almost like any health journey, you need biomarkers to saying, okay, here's where I'm starting. And it's almost like anybody that wants to lose weight. First thing you do is jump on a scale, right? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, how much do I weigh?
So you have to
And-
measure the first. You
Right.
have to know where you're starting.
And I believe if it's worth doing, it's worth tracking,
Uh,
right? It's the same with your money, it's the same with anything. If you want to make improvements, you have to know where you're starting and then what are some of those end goals that you want and be able to have measurable results versus guessing. And
uh-huh.
that's where a lot of people sadly in their health journey, they're guessing a lot. I ask people all the time, I was like, hey, you take supplements? Yeah, I do. How do you know they're working? And the two answers I get is I think they are or I
Mhm.
hope they are.
So it's
It's like,
not even like I see this change. It's like
right,
I think and I hope.
I think I feel better. Okay. because we
Uh-huh.
can almost trick
That could be
ourselves.
the placebo effect. We have that in psychology. Like
100%.
your hope will make you actually feel like,
Yeah.
it's doing something in your body.
Yeah. And so that's what I love. We've had this technology for, man, 20 plus years. We
Mm.
actually procured it off the same labs that invented the artificial heart back in 2002. The problem back in the day was our original scanner was about this big, and
Mhm.
we only had about 5,000 in the world. So is for most people is an accessibility issue,
Mm.
unless they came to like one of our events or we're having something. So they didn't really have access to it. And so what I love now, because of machine learning, AI, and we took this 20 plus years of literally 26 million scans around the world that we've done on people and got it down to this handheld device now that people can now have at their home. So we literally just launched it this month, but that's what gets me super excited because I mean, we literally have supplementation from 2 years old and up.
Mhm.
And I know, especially the developmental years, if kids are getting the actual nutrients they need, the vitamins and minerals, all those good nutrients, they're going to develop better, right? Like especially
That is
those first
yeah.
developmental years. But also know that if someone, I joked with a lady the other day, and she's a little bit older, but I said, she goes, I'm not really interested in supplementing for myself. I just want to make sure my kids are healthy. And I'm like,
Mm.
you know who cares about your supplementation? Your kids.
Yeah,
They
they need
care
you
about your
here
health,
and
right? They
well.
want you healthy,
Mhm.
and we've seen it again. Something that's been a big driver for my wife and I to just live a healthy lifestyle is we don't want to be a burden on our kids as we get
Yeah.
old. We
Yeah.
don't want to age bad, and we're kind of seeing it with her mom right now, where her mobility is very limited. She has a lot of pain just from years of like I said, smoking and alcohol
Mm.
abuse and stuff. That compound effect is
Yeah.
there, and I remember her mom saying the other day, she said, my wife just bent down and picked some off the floor, and she goes, man, I wish I could do that.
Wow. The
Like I don't want.
simplest thing.
Yeah, and it's like, so if she started, I think she's probably mid 50s. This lady I was talking to, I was like, what if you started making a small adjustment now? What is that compound effect going to be in 10 years or
Mhm.
20 years of how you're living, versus keeping going down the same road where you're already having some issues, you're already seeing some of these biomarkers in your blood that are off, you're already on a couple prescriptions. What if you could get off some of
Yeah.
that just by being healthy, by giving your body again what it needs so it's performing correctly, by
Yeah.
giving it building blocks? And again, unfortunately, there are so many amazing plants and ingredients around the world. A lot of times we just don't even have access to it just because where we live,
Yeah.
that's just grown here. We don't have access. And so sourcing really good supplementation that's sourced from some of the best plants from around the world that really make those differences in our lives so that we can then again live a better quality of life. And that's what I want for people. Like I said, I turned 50 this year. So I'm like, I want to be in the best shape of my life at 50. When I turn 51, that's gonna be my
That
goal. I wanna be
each
in the best
year
shape of
is
my life
gonna
at
be like
51.
the best. Well,
And
you
I just
said and you well, I want people to really get this. I know you showed the device, but break it down for us. So, you're talking about the best supplements or ingredients and then being able to track them to see how they're actually working in your body. Like tell us what the device is, how it works, and how does it help you to do you then look at the results and make changes or adjustments?
Mhm.
Walk
And
us
I'll
through it.
show you how simple it is. So it connects right to our app. Whoop, right there,
Uh-huh.
sorry. It connects to our app, and then, like I said, all I do is I'm just putting my finger over it. It's 15 seconds, and
Mhm.
so then it'll do its scan, and normally you just place it on a table. You don't have to press
Okay.
hard or anything.
Uh-huh. You just hold
So
it.
what it does, so that was it right there. So basically what we're doing is we're wanting, so as you can see, it's we want people in the blue or purple,
Okay.
and
So you're purple.
sadly
For those
most
listening, he's in the purple.
that's right, I'm product of the product. I practice what I preach. But for most people, about 80% we scan normally are in that orange or that red
Which is the
level. So
lower range,
it's
the
the
lower.
lower level. So the
Uh-huh.
higher the better. And so from there, what happens is, like, through the app, you can go through and click this little recommendation button. and it'll start showing you like, okay, it'll start saying, okay, what does the score mean? Like most people in your demographic,
Mhm.
um, or in your score,
Mm.
most people have similar things. So a lot of times, if people are in the red, they're smokers, they have high BMIs, high stress, um, low consumption of fruits and vegetables, things like
Mm.
that. So this was
And
actually
what
a
so
part
it's
of
measuring, like, their overall what is that score? It's a measure
it's
of, like
basic. I call it your nutritional score. What it
mm,
technically is doing is measuring your overall concentration of antioxidants in your living tissue.
okay.
So when we think about antioxidant protection, the easiest example I always give is of an apple, right? So, I know you have kiddos and stuff. So
Yeah,
they want an apple, you cut it up for them and they leave it out. What happens
uh-huh.
to it over time?
It gets and they hate that. They're like, "Mom, it's all brown." Like, it's
It's browning, right?
uh-huh.
So basically, the peel of that apple is a layer of protection over the apple, right over the
Okay.
inner of the apple. We cut it open and we leave it out. It starts oxidizing,
Mhm.
basically, right? It's browning. And so, do you know the hack to make it not brown?
Is
If
it
you're cutting it up,
lemon juice or something? Well, my
yeah,
kids looked it up, but they
yeah.
told me, "Mom, you gotta put lemon juice."
Right, and why is that? Why does that stop it?
Mm. Is it
Because
the acid? Okay.
it's an antioxidant,
Okay,
right? So
okay,
lemon juice
uh-huh.
is an antioxidant, so when you're dripping that lemon juice on an apple, it's providing a layer of protection over it so
Mhm.
it doesn't oxidize. So when you think about free radical damage and oxidative stress to our bodies, we need to protect ourselves because free radical damage and oxidative stress, what happens is that's almost the first cause of almost every age-related disease that we have.
Okay.
And it's even huge for the brain. Like our brain needs antioxidant protection. So from our brain down, that's why we started measuring there because it's that first overall kind of wellness check of how I used to joke about how am I browning from the inside out? Like how
Mm.
what do I
How's
look like that old nasty brown
oxidation?
apple,
Uh-huh.
or do I look like a fresh clean apple, right? And so because we get hit with trillions of free radical hits a day, right? And so the only thing that neutralizes it is the antioxidants. It basically neutralizes that free radical and destroys it. And so if we have a high level, like if we score high,
Mhm.
typically our immune system's functioning as it's supposed to. Normally we have that first level of defense. It's not like it's a guarantee you'll never go through or catch anything,
Yeah.
but it's that first step of preventative health because I think we all know that being preventative toward your health is so much easier than reactionary.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when we've seen a big shift, especially post COVID. I think before COVID, a lot of our attitudes was if I catch something, I'll go to the doctor,
I'll
get a
fix
script.
it then.
Right.
Mhm.
Like, no, I'm not worried about it. Sadly, after COVID, there was a lot of distrust in medicine, right? We
Mm.
didn't know what to believe because we're being told everything,
Yeah.
right? I mean, from A to Z, we're being told it, and everyone thought they were right about everything. And now, as time went, we're like, that wasn't true. That
Uh-huh.
wasn't right. Or we know that most time when we go to the doctor, it almost seems like they're not wanting to cure you. They're wanting to do managed care. Well,
Mm.
just take this pill, it'll do this. Well, this pill just caused this problem. So now I need to take a new pill to combat
To
this.
address
And
that.
before you
Yeah.
know it, you're on 5 prescriptions, right? And one's trying to counteract a
Mm.
side effect that the other's doing all this. And people are like, how do I holistically age younger longer?
Yeah.
Right? That's what they're
Have
wanting.
that health span that you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah, 100%, and they're tired of being on prescriptions. If you look at type 2 diabetes, which is rampant in North America, it's a diet-based disease, purely.
And
They're
I
now
was pre-diabetic and they just kept saying, "Oh, it's not a big deal." I took it into my own hands to reverse it because I said, "I refuse to just quote sit back and relax and
right,
then if I get it take medication." No, I'm not
right,
doing that.
and then you're on that for the rest of your life. Yeah, we've
Mhm.
gotten so many people off their type 2 diabetic medicines because
Mm.
it's like it's diet-based. Now
Yeah.
they're even dubbing Alzheimer's as type 3. So they're they're
Sugar.
they're admitting that it's a nutrient issue, it's a health issue. It's not. Well, yeah, I mean, that before my dad passed away, that was one of his biggest fears because he had 5 kids. He was one he had 4 sisters and him, and
Mm.
so he saw 3 of his sisters, though, go down that road
Mm.
of Alzheimer's dementia. So,
Yeah.
but before he had passed away, that was his biggest fear of going he thought it was inevitable. like my sisters all went through this, I'm going to go through it.
Yeah.
And it's not the case. And so people know, and again, what I love about this technology is that now people can actually measure, okay, is what I'm eating and or taking as supplementation wise, is it working? And
Mm.
so we've scanned people that scan really high, not on one product of ours. They just eat a very good, clean, whole food diet,
Nutrient diet. Uh-huh.
a nutrient dense diet. And so we've done clinicals over the years, and we've had several graphs where it's like, if, like I said, if people have high BMI, they smoked, high stress, and low consumption of fruits and vegetables, it's almost 90% in the red. And so then they started taking out, okay, what if people just didn't smoke?
Mhm.
You could see it start
It would
going.
Their
It was a
score
lot
would
more
get higher.
right. And so more people were, it was kind of split between orange and red. Okay,
Okay.
now what if they had normal BMIs? And I'll be real honest, I'm not a real proponent of BMIs, because according to their scale, I'm I'm 5'9" and 185 pounds, and so I'm obese according to
Yeah,
BMI.
and I was overweight. I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah, I'm like, man, I'm obese, but again, body composition or being overweight. If they started having a little bit better healthy lifestyle where they didn't have high BMIs or overweight, it started shifting a little more. And then
Mhm.
if they had 4 to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables, again, this wasn't getting on any of our supplementation. This was just changing lifestyle.
Lifestyle.
They would get a little bit better. And then it got on to where, like, we have a product called Life Pack, and this is one of the clinicals they did. Okay, what if they're taking one sachet of that a day?
Mhm.
How it started getting better. And so we could tell just by making lifestyle choices, it changed scores. But then if you add on a really good quality supplement that's actually bioavailable, right? It's being absorbed by the body,
Mhm.
it gets even better and better and better. And we saw it even with our kids. We, like I said, we have stuff for children. And a lot of times when most of the other kids in school were sick or had the sniffles, our kids weren't getting as
It
sick.
they're in.
Um,
Uh-huh.
or even my wife, she wanted nothing to do with our company when I first started because we had several other
Mhm.
businesses, and it kind of aggravated her starting a new business. And but she was getting kind of 2 or 3, 4 times a year. She was getting some bronchial issues. She'd get a little bit congested. It was immediately in her chest, and then she was hacking and coughing for a month. And she was kind of what normal people do. She was getting online. Okay, well, ashwagandha is really good, or echinacea is
Yeah.
really good, right? And so she had 20 bottles of stuff on our counter, just trying to figure this out. And I said, honey, like, the company I joined, we have some really good supplements. Like, why don't you try it? And she looked at the overall price of kind of one of our more premier products. She was, well, that's expensive. And I was like, well, what is the total cost of these
Of
20
each
bottles?
bottle of
I mean,
these.
I mean, yeah, it's not expensive because it's only $10 here, $20 here, $30 here. So in her mind, it was cheap, but
Yeah.
total, she was actually spending more. And I was like, you don't know if where these products are sourced. You don't know if they're supposed to synergistically work together. So why don't you just try it? Like, get rid of that and just like try this one product. She's been on it for 15 years. Over those 15 years, she might have had 3 instances. She used
Of
to get
that
3
bronchi.
a year,
Mm.
and so to where she went from getting 3 bronchial, I guess you call them infections a year, to 3 in 15 years. Like, it changed her whole quality of life,
Huge,
and
yeah.
again, it changed our relationship because it's kind of hard to be lovey-dovey with somebody if they're hacking and and
Well,
coughing and
I wanna
sniffling
get
all
I
the
wanna
time.
get back to that, the relationship part, but I wanna ask you, because you mentioned free radicals and oxidative stress. Can you
Mhm.
explain to everyone, like, where does that come from? Is that food? And when you say stress, like, what is that from? So, what is oxidative stress, free radicals? Where does that come from?
So, like, if you're a smoker or a vapor,
Mhm.
you're getting trillions of free radical hits per puff, like literally per puff.
Okay.
If you're out in the sun too much, causes free radical production. Even exercises causes free radical production, right? So I scan a lot of athletes from the outside looking in. They look in shape. They
Mhm.
scan horribly because they're stressing their body, but they're not getting the nutrients to
They're not
replace
putting
it.
something back. Okay. Which
Excuse
is
me.
why they
So
talk about fuel, like, it's a whole picture. It's not just go bang
Mhm.
it out at the gym and
Or
then
we see people like this technology actually probably in 2014, maybe somewhere around there. Back when Dr. Oz had his show, he actually contacted our company because he was doing a whole special on cancer fighting antioxidants. and he wanted to scan his whole audience basically. And we were the only company that had a non-invasive way to do it.
Mm.
So he brought a whole bunch of scanners out and scanned his audience. And like I said, as you saw the color range, he put people in t-shirts depending on what they scored. And literally 80% of his audience was red or orange. And he says on his show, he's like, this freak, I didn't think anybody would score in the red. Like this
Uh-huh.
kind of freaks me out a little bit.
'Cause that's
And
the low. Uh-huh.
it's the lowest. Yeah. Like I said, we want blues and purples.
Yeah.
And there was about 5% that was in the higher levels. And so then he scanned himself on live TV. And our scientists even joked with him, like, this will like, this will
It's
tell
gonna
you if you're
expose
talking
you.
the
Yeah.
talk. Yeah, if you're walking the walk, right? And at the time, it was a little different grading score. We do it in hundreds now. Back then, we did it in thousands. So I mean, he was 75,000, which was equivalent to about 750 now. So he was in the highest levels. And I'm like, and he's not on any products of ours, but I'm sure he has people preparing his food,
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
But he eats a very, very good, clean, nutrient dense diet.
Uh-huh.
And I remember he called this lady up. And when you looked at her, she looked in shape, and he started asking about her diet. She was like, well, I love pastries. I don't really eat fruits and vegetables, da da da. So again, from the outside looking in, she looked like a fairly in shape woman,
Yeah.
but what was going on inside? So I look at this technology as almost like a sonar device. I give the example of the Titanic. If it had sonar technology and could see what was happening under the surface of the water, it wouldn't have sank, right? It would have saw the iceberg, not hit it. We don't know what's happening inside of us. So this
Mm.
is giving a great indication of what's really going on inside. And what I love about it too, again, it's non-invasive, takes 15 seconds. We scan kids all the time. And it was a part of a big Yale study. It was a 10-year Yale study. And the top two things that came out of it was the number one way to measure fruit and vegetable consumption in the body. It was the number one way to create behavioral change because
The
they could see
tracking, right?
the tracking.
That is what I'm already gonna get my device because you see, I wear my Aura ring.
Right.
But there's something about no, because I've suffered from migraines since I was a child, and they were gonna recommend biofeedback, where it's like you get hooked up on these things and you see what's happening in your brain, and then you
Right.
start doing relaxation and you see the impact. There's something about seeing
Mm,
what's happening that then promotes continuing the good things and cutting out the
for
bad
sure.
things. That's why like biohacking is so, I don't know if I'm calling it the right thing, but
Yeah.
whatever that is so fascinating to me because just from a human behavior perspective, we tend to do what's reinforced. So if we see
Mhm.
something working, we're
Right.
going to keep doing it. But if we don't
Sure.
know, we're just like, oh,
Well, and
okay.
that's where some people, I mean, honestly, for example, we have supplements that are in the $30 range to
Hmm.
$150 range, right? Like we have everything. What's interesting is so many people that start and they're like, well, I don't have much money, or they're kind of skeptical, and they'll start with one of the, say, the $30 product.
Hmm.
Well, it increases their score and they get excited and they're like, well, what about this other product you're telling me about? Because they're
Uh-huh.
like, I want to
They
get
want the
even higher.
maximum.
Right. And as far as the behavioral, we saw it with our kids. When, like I said, when I started this company, our boys were they were 2, 4, and 6. When they hit when probably the youngest was about 4 or so, we're able to have access to one of these scanners. And they didn't understand any of the science. They didn't understand, oxidants or none of
Mm.
that. They saw their score. All they cared about was beating their brother. That was it.
They're
It
like,
was
"Give
a
me another
competition.
apple. I want
Right,
some
and so
greens."
we actually watched them do that. Like, it wasn't a we didn't have to tell them to take their vitamins every day. They were wanting to do it. Instead of going and grabbing a bag of chips, they were grabbing blueberries or cherries
Mm.
or whatever, right? So we had our own little clinical where we saw their behavior change, and it wasn't a fight at the dinner table. Hey, eat your fruits and vegetables. They were like, I want to beat my, because we'd scan them once a week basically, and they're like, I want to beat my brother. That's all they cared about. It
Yeah.
was just a competition. And so we saw that behavioral change with them. And like you're saying, the tracking of it is so key. And that's why I love the intuitiveness of our app, because again, after you get scanned, you can click the next thing that says recommendation. It literally says, okay, how do you improve your score? So
Mm.
it gives basic tips on lifestyle changes that you can do to help improve your score. But then it also goes to, okay, based on your personal score, here's some supplementation that we recommend for you. And so it's very personalized. And what I looked at it as the differentiator between every other, if you want to call it in the wearable market,
Mhm.
your Apple Watch, your
I like
Aura Ring,
pouring uh-huh.
the Fitbits, the Whoop bands, all these things are tracking all this stuff, and it can tell you if a biomarker's off. But it's like, okay, what do I do about it? What's
Mm.
the solution? And so like we know kind of the if you call it, we have some products that are scanner certified. They will 100% money back guarantee raise your score. But okay, what's the secondary issue? So for a lot of people, it's sleep. When do our bodies
Yes.
repair itself? It's when it
So
sleeps.
it can track because I have been finding sleep is my number one, like especially at this stage in age in life. It's hard sometimes to get a good night's sleep, but when you get it, like it's almost like the
Game
sky
changer.
opens up.
Yeah.
So is that something that counters free radical and oxidation
Well, and so you
stress?
can fill out a really quick survey, but yeah.
Mhm.
So a trainer friend of mine, he was actually a Hollywood trainer, like, and he was the first to tell you there's a difference between looks or in
Health.
aesthetics
Uh-huh.
and health, right? He said, look, I got clients coming to me saying I got to be on screen in 6 weeks. I need to
Mm.
transform, and it might not be the healthiest way to do it, but he'll transform their body.
Yeah.
But he drilled me constantly about my sleep because I just didn't sleep a lot. And he said, listen, man, sleep is to the body what the oven is to cookie dough. That's where
Mhm.
all the change happens,
Yeah.
and so that's where our body's repairing itself. That's when it's rejuvenating itself and restoring everything. That's when it's working. So, it's we do have a really really good sleep product that's not. It's you wake up feeling good. You're not feeling like you got hit by a truck like
Frog
some of these
yeah,
products
like
out
some
there.
of those, yeah.
But we know that people that are, because you can really personalize this in the app, and so it asks you questions about like your sleep habits, how much you getting. It asks you, there's probably about 10 really personal questions. And so we know that as people get better sleep, their score does improve because their
Mhm.
body's actually repairing itself,
Absorbing, uh-huh, and
fixing itself,
repairing,
right?
yeah.
So the nutrients you're feeding it, it's using those as you're in that state of repair and that's where you wake up, like you said, man, you get a good night's sleep, you feel like you conquer the world. If you
Yeah.
get a horrible night's sleep, you're
It's
like,
the
oh my
opposite. You're like, that has happened where I'm like, "I cannot wait to get in I'm waiting for this day to end so I can do a redo and get"
right? Yeah, it makes such a huge
Yeah.
difference, and so that's where it's so important, and what I love now, it's like, I believe if you're spending your money on something, you deserve to know if it's working, and
Mm.
that's where I get so excited about this now because I've seen the difference it's made over the last 16 years of utilizing this technology, but again, it was very limited access, so I know getting it into people's homes, the difference it'll make long term for folks because again, I've never met a mother one that scanned themselves and doesn't want to scan their kids or
Yeah.
scan their husband, right? Because it's really eye opening, especially with these the diets of our kids these days.
All the
Most kids
process and it's
scam,
yeah. They've
yeah, oh
scored
yeah,
worse sometimes
processed
than the
garbage,
yeah. Now
you
tell
know.
me, you mentioned, like, how can this help people in just biohacking and being aware of what's going on with you help your relationship because you threw in something in there like okay if you have a spouse that's like sick a lot not to their own fault but like how does that even affect the relationship
For sure. Well, one, if one person's sick, and we all know as parents, if our kids came home with something, we're trying to heal them, but we're begging we don't catch it, right?
yeah
Because there's nothing
Mhm.
worse than everybody being sick.
Yeah
But I mean, how sexy is it if your spouse is hacking and coughing and blowing their nose every 5 seconds, right? It's not
yeah
real romantic. And like I said, it kind of goes into so many areas. You and I, the first time we were kind of chatting, we were joking about some stuff, and um, I had told you a story. One of our big, I guess you call it social media selling products.
Mm,
We have a cellulite firming cream, right? That helps
mm,
kind of tone, lift, smooth, tighten. And I used to get guy friends of mine joke with me because I'd post about it or I'd show kind of before and afters, and they're like, why are you, you know, posting about cellulite cream, and I'm like, and I would joke that I said, man, I'm saving marriages, and they would be like,
mm.
dude, you're so full of crap. What are you talking about? And I'm like, look, I've been married, like I said, at time like almost 30 years. I know if my wife doesn't feel comfortable in her skin, it affects the
Mm,
way she feels about herself.
yeah.
I know for a lot of women, if again, if they get out of the shower and they're looking in the mirror and they're not happy with what they see, it's going to affect how they view themselves and the
Mhm,
confidence they feel in themselves. If they start lacking in that confidence, how they feel about themselves, it's going to translate into the bedroom, right? You might not want to get naked in front of your
mm,
spouse because you feel self-conscious, da da da,
yeah.
which is going to involve in sex life. And when you think about marriage, it is a vital importance to
Mhm,
that desire you have for your spouse, right? And acting on that. If that starts waning, it's going to affect a lot of areas, because then it goes into, and I'll just go from a man's perspective. Why doesn't my wife want me? Like,
mhm.
why did she desire me? And then
So
not
a
mind
man can
about
feel
me,
insecure. Like women
but it's
tend to think it's that you don't men don't have that insecurity.
well, it's just like if she's not feeling comfortable and or where it affects her wanting to get intimate. It might not have nothing to do with me, but
Mhm.
I might be starting to feel like, "Why doesn't she want me? Why
Yeah.
doesn't she desire me? Why is she not wanting to be intimate?" Now,
Mhm.
and I'll be real honest, me looking at her, I'm like, "Dude, you're a smoke show, like, you look
Mm,
amazing." Like, I'm
yeah.
like, "What's up?" You know? But how she views herself, if she's not
Mhm.
feeling confident in it, it's going to affect. And so I would joke with my buddies, it's like, so if I can offer a solution to a woman where all of a sudden she starts using this, she starts feeling better about herself. Now all of a sudden she's a little more confident. She's looking in the mirror thinking, man, I'm looking pretty good.
Mhm.
Maybe she's now wanting to get more intimate with her husband more all the time. Maybe their entire intimate life and their sex life changes. Yeah, I'm saving marriages.
Yeah.
Like I would
Yeah.
joke around about it, but it was a real thing because I
Mhm.
witnessed it. I saw women all of a sudden because we all know, I mean, how many times we go on get ready to go on a vacation, and all of a sudden you try on that bathing suit, and you're like, "Whoa, I got
Mhm.
some dimples in some places I didn't want." It's like,
Uh-huh.
"Whoa," and immediately you start thinking, you gotta
Self-critical.
tighten this up and straighten this out and do all this stuff. And again, so many times it's so funny because there's times my wife will say something about herself, and I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like you're freaking
Mm.
amazing." Like I got chased
Yeah.
around like we're teenagers now, but it's like, but again, how she saw, it's like, "Oh, I got to fix this or got to do this," and I'm like, I don't even notice that. Like, what are you talking
Yeah.
about?
You hear
But
that a lot from men. They're like, "Whatever you're obsessing over, I didn't even know that was a problem."
yeah, but again, we build it up in our own head,
Mhm.
and you go back to a relationship with yourself. It's so interesting how we can almost rationalize anything to ourselves. We can
Mm.
make anything believable to ourselves, and it's so funny because if you built something up in your own head, but then you tell somebody else about it, and they're like, "Okay, did you hear what you just said? Like that makes no
Yeah.
sense at all."
Yeah.
But we believe it because I believe the easiest person ever to rationalize anything to is ourselves.
Mhm.
And
We
we can
believe
build
the lies about ourselves.
100%. And that's where I go down to, and I was actually I've been in the middle of writing a book, but one of the chapters about relationships, and I talk about this, is that I think the two vital relationships that where everything starts is the relationship with your creator, the relationship with yourself.
Mhm.
And so, when you read in the Bible that we're magnificently and uniquely made, right? Like there's 8 billion people out there. No one has your fingerprints. No one has your DNA. Like we're so uniquely made, which
Mhm.
means we were made on purpose with different talents and gifts that other people don't have. And then when you really start viewing yourself as this unique just miracle that was created, and say, okay, well, how do I view myself? Do I view myself as this amazing creation that
Mhm.
no one else on this earth has my fingerprints? I mean, how crazy is that, right? Like
Yeah.
when you really think about it, but how special each one of us are, and we start really understanding, and I believe that starts with the relationship with our creator, but then it gets down to, okay, do we view ourselves as our creator viewed us, as
Mhm.
how he made us? And if you look at today's world and the confusion of it, I think that's where so many people are so lost because they don't view themselves as that. They I mean, you hear people like they were made by mistake, or there was mistakes made,
Mm.
right? As
Yeah.
they're,
Yeah.
and where does that road take them? And it really gets down to, I mean, you can go down some roads if you think there's a problem with how you were made,
It
or
can be
you were
so
made
dark.
oh, it gets crazy dark.
Yeah.
And you go down some really, really crazy roads, but you've heard it said all the time, how can you truly love someone else if you don't love yourself?
Mhm.
Okay, how do you really view yourself? Do you view yourself as this king or queen of a creation of God? Like, and he didn't make a mistake, and I have these unique gifts and talents that I can share with the world and give voice, possibly help people out. And then what is that ripple effect? Or do I view myself as some mistake, and I'm constantly, and you hear it, I know you've heard it in some of the clients you've had, is how people even talk about themselves, right? Like,
And
it's,
you're sitting there like, do you I always say, like, let's pretend we're in a court of law and we're lawyers, and, like, the way you're representing yourself, you should be fired. As a
right.
lawyer, like, the arguments you're making against yourself, you should be fired for malpractice because
Yeah.
the things you're saying about yourself are just
And
inaccurate. Yeah.
for 100%. And what we say about ourselves, we are going to believe. It will
Mhm.
become our reality. And
Yeah.
you've seen it, right? People that say they're sick all the time, what are they? Sick all the time. People that
Mhm.
say they're broke all the time, they're broke all the time,
Yeah.
right? Because whatever we're feeding that subconscious brain, it's going to make a reality, right?
Mhm.
Our subconscious brain doesn't know the difference between fact or fiction. It's
Yeah.
literal and obedient, right?
It's
Whatever
just
you're
like,
feeding.
"Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah.
take it in. Thank
And so
you."
when people
Mhm.
talk about, say, money, and they're like, I never have money, I'm broke all the time, da 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 da, you're not consciously going out and just wasting your money. You're subconsciously spending 5, 10, 15 bucks a day on garbage. So at the end of the month, you don't have any money. Like, you're fulfilling what you're saying
Mhm.
all the time. And
Yeah.
it's a subconscious thing. I remember reading a book one time, and it said our subconscious brain fires at 9 to the 27th power. I don't even know how to write that number.
Yeah.
9 to the 27th power per second, 24 hours a day. It never
Mm.
shuts off. It's just constantly going.
Highly active, uh-huh.
Uh-huh. And so I got in a habit of, um, it's, basically, if you say, like, I can't do that, your subconscious brain says you're right. And it shuts off.
Just cut
Right? It's like,
yeah.
you're right, you can't do it. Okay, how can I do it? Or how can I afford it versus I can't afford it? You're right. How can I afford it? Then all of a sudden, your subconscious brain has a problem to solve, right? And I think we've all had those experiences where, we're middle of the day, or we wake up in the middle of the night with this thought of, like, about a problem we've had, like a solution for it.
Mhm.
Our brains, our subconscious now is like, oh, you gave me a problem to solve. I want a new car. Okay, how can I afford that car? And then all of a sudden, doors start opening up, opportunities start opening up, things start happening to where maybe some extra cash flow comes in, or this opportunity comes up. But you figure out a way, how can you afford it? And it goes like that with every area of our life. And
Yeah.
so, but most people aren't conscious of the words that they're talking, and especially when it comes to themselves. And you really get an idea of how people view themselves and how they talk about themselves,
And then
and
how they
they're
treat themselves. You
100%,
see
because
it in that. Mhm.
if you don't, if you view yourselves as less than, are you really going to care about what you're putting in your body? Are
Yeah.
you going to care about your health, or are you going to numb it out with drugs, with alcohol, with overeating, with whatever?
Stop
And so,
retail therapy and
mm,
not
100%,
scrolling.
yeah.
Mhm.
And it's just, it's I'm a big responsibility guy. Yeah, I'm like, you need to own it. You need to take 100% responsibility for it all. And so it's like, are you trying to escape the responsibility you have for yourself, which goes into, again, if I view myself as less than, how is that going to translate to my relationship with my wife, relationship with my kids? And then how also is that going to translate years down the road to how I age? Because if I don't care about myself and I'm not taking care of myself, okay, my health is going to get garbage as I get older and older and older. I mean,
Mhm.
our bodies will break down if it doesn't have what it needs.
Yeah.
And so, and then, okay, does that add then extra stress onto my spouse or onto my kids? Because all of a sudden they're having to take care of me because I
Yeah.
can't take care of myself.
Yeah.
And it all started with how I view me. And do I view myself important enough to take care of myself, to love myself, to want to be healthy because I deserve to be healthy?
Mhm.
And most people don't think they're deserving of wealth, of health, of prosperity, of whatever, because again, it all starts with you
Yeah.
and how you view it. And that's where, again, I think sometimes where I love the wellness space because it's kind of a glaring aspect for most people if they're unhealthy or dealing with health issues and or overweight, they know it. And so if you can even start with something where they can start seeing some tangible results, and it translates into that relationship you build with them of then how they're really viewing themselves and change their entire mindset about them, you can get to this area where yeah I'll never forget talking to a lady one time. It was kind of a coaching call, and I stopped her and I said, do you hear what you're saying
Mm-hmm.
about you? And she goes, what are you talking about? And so I started repeating back some of the things that she was saying about herself. And I was like, if I was talking to you how you're talking about yourself, you would
You'd
have hung
hang
up
up
on
the
me.
phone. Yeah,
Oh,
you slam that phone down.
you know, like back in the day, right? There's nothing
Yeah,
more
we actually
satisfying than
had
slamming down the
phones.
phone, right? And and when I was repeating back, she wasn't even conscious of half of what she even said. It
Hmm.
was so automatic. She was just saying all this stuff. And I'm like, why do you view yourself this way? Because do you not think, because, a lot of it was, I'm never successful and I'm never good at anything, da da da. Da. I'm like, do you not think that doesn't translate on how you operate in your day to day and why you're in a financial situation you're in and why you're stuck in these different areas? Because everything you say about you, it's negative, every bit of it. So
Yeah.
again, if you're out there trying to sell a product or a service or something, or operating your professional life and you view yourself that way, does anyone honest, you're putting that energy out.
They can, and it feels unsafe. People
Yeah.
don't feel attracted to, on a subconscious level,
Yeah,
someone who's negative about themselves. You feel unsafe because it's like, well, if they're treating themselves like this, how are they going to treat me?
for sure.
It's like
Yeah.
it's not a
I mean,
safe place to be. Hmm.
you pick up on that energy.
Yeah.
I mean, we're, like I said, we're energy beings, man.
Hmm.
And if even if you're not saying it, but you feel that, you put it out there and people pick up on it. And we've all had that experience where we're kind of talking to somebody, it's like, man, there's something off.
Yeah.
Like there's something not right. Like I don't know what it is. And they're saying all the right things, but
But
they're
the
like, you just
energy is
have
not
that.
matching. Yeah.
Yeah, almost that intuition, like, like something isn't right. And again, if you're not willing to love and treat yourself with love, respect, worthiness, deservedness, all that kind of stuff, are you really going to treat other people like that? Or are you just going to kind of roll them over?
Yeah.
And sadly, we see that so much in today's society where, I think a lot of people are so. I actually did a podcast about this last week about the lack of purpose in people's lives.
Yeah.
And so they try to find purpose because they don't have purpose. So they
Internal.
grab
Hmm.
onto it. Are they really trying to solve the problem? If you want to say, if you're protesting about something, uh, are you really trying to solve that problem? I don't hear a lot of solutions about it, but I hear, and if you look back the last 5, 6 years, I mean, there's been one protest after another about something. It seems to be the same people doing it. They're just going from one cause to the next because they're looking for purpose or meaning in their life because they haven't figured out what is their purpose.
Yeah.
So they're trying to find it. And again, they're not looking for a solution. But then if you look at how people treat each other throughout all of this, it's like,
There's
yeah,
that, and that's the disconnect because I think we have to be so connected to history to see like what is the role of certain things where protest is helpful. But what I'm observing, what you observe, which is there we externalize so much. So even when we're attached to certain causes, sometimes it doesn't feel very substantial because it's more like we're externalizing versus getting clear within ourselves and then deciding. Like I've always been clear, my purpose is in how I impact my clients and
right,
giving them the foundation to then go impact the world. Like that's my greatest strength. And it took
right.
so much self-reflection to stand tall in that, like that, to not feel like, well, if I'm not doing this or I'm not doing that, then if it doesn't look like I'm doing something, then
Right.
I'm worried about what people say versus like being so clear and like just seeing a woman's health transform. seeing
Right.
her relationship transform, I'm like, man, if I can help a woman transform her well-being, and if her purpose is to then go out and speak out against injustice or whatever, like, I'm good. I'm good
Right.
because I know I helped her to stand firm. And I feel like we've lost sight of everybody knowing their purpose versus being like sheep and herded into what is we perceive, especially with social media. Oh my
Well,
goodness.
it's borrowed purpose and perceived virtue, right? And so
Borrowed
people are
purpose.
looking
Uh-huh.
they're looking for something, and I joked about this, and it's not really a joke, but I joked
Yeah.
about this on the podcast. I said, if you look back from the COVID era on, it went from almost a religion type aspect of whether you were masked and
Mm.
or vaxxed. I mean,
Mm.
people had that kind of, I mean, I
Fervor.
remember hearing people saying, if you're not vaxxed, I hope you die. I hope you catch it and die.
Mm.
It's like, whoa, like, okay, let's wait. It's like that's pretty extreme.
Yeah.
So you saw this, and then it went in, you kind of fast forward to some of the George Floyd stuff, right? And again, there was a lot of uh, there was a lot of good stuff that needed to be done through that. But then how some of that was portrayed, was it really helping the cause and finding a
Mm.
solution, or was it just vitriol and just hate? Right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
there's ways you can find solutions, but there's other ways you can turn people completely off to what your cause is. And then you can, I guess, the next thing you fast forward to some of the trans stuff, some of the Ukraine stuff, some of the Palestine stuff,
Mm.
right? And it was like these people, like I was joking, I was like, what happened to the Ukraine cause? They're still technically at war, but
Mm.
no one's protesting that anymore because
Yeah.
now we have the next thing.
Yeah.
And it's like you were talking, it was like whatever the herders of the sheep want you to be pissed off about, they're going to lead you to it, because you don't have your own like I don't have there's a lot of things I'm grounded in my faith, my beliefs, my things like that. But I also, because of my purpose of wanting to change people's lives, I love helping people accomplish things they didn't think were possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's my man, whether it's on a financial level, a spiritual level, a nutrition level, but helping people achieve something they didn't think was possible. It wakes me up every day. I don't have I don't have time to figure out what to be pissed off about today, because I want to make a difference in someone's lives. And then what really excites me, and just like what you were kind of alluding to a minute ago, in empowering that woman, what then is the ripple effect that's going to
That
happen?
person being grounded.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that I don't know about, but if I help you achieve your purpose and identify it and give you different tools. Again, I know we've talked about stuff on the mental side and the nutrition side, and we've talked about a lot of different areas today, but it's like, okay, if I help you give those tools and then you start operating out of your purpose, then what is that ripple effect gonna be down the road that we might never even be
We'll be
no
dead to know
right.
what the impact that somebody else had. Yeah.
And that's what gets me excited. Like one of my biggest mentors, he was a pilot, and 3 years ago, his plane actually crashed and he passed
Oh,
away. He's still making an impact, right? Because of what he did and how he lived his life.
yeah.
He's still making an impact on people, and I'm like, that is how you lived a life of purpose
And
and of
legacy.
significance, right?
Yes.
Because that ripple effect that's happened, and I think that's what's cool about people willing to lend their voice, even in this podcast space. You never know who's gonna. There might be one person that watches this thing, and
Yeah.
you and I
And they're
said
like,
one thing that shifted their thinking just a little bit, where they're like, you know what? I am gonna. I am worthy enough to, like I
to
am worthy of
care
good health.
about my health. Yes. And
I
to
am
know
worthy.
you can tweak it. This is what I want women to know, right? It's almost like you said you were in your 20s, you were doing all the right things. You saw the picture, or people who take the scan and they're shocked. And that was a wake up call for me because I've always been, quote, health conscious. But
Right.
until I started tracking certain things, my
Yeah.
glucose, my A1C, my sleep habits, then you really have to face yourself. And I
Right.
was like, it was amazing how when I stopped watching the news, and again, people got mad at me, when I divested from so much of the external things
Always.
and really got back to myself, like I got healthier than I had ever gotten. And I
Right.
imagine part of my free radical stress was like is getting so caught up in what's going on outside and like
Oh yeah.
feeling in that fight or flight mode where I'm like, oh my God, this headline, somebody's like, did you hear this? Oh my God, he did this, that person. And I'm like, guys, please, I
Right.
can't. Like, I'm getting, my health is suffering when I saw my glucose level changes and all that stuff
Right.
because of this level of stress. And so I think being able to track it and how like certain things, because I'm a scientist, so when you're telling me okay, you can track your stuff, then you might say if I add this many fruits and vegetables or if I take away this, like you can literally see the changes. So
Right.
what do you think, because women, I always talk about women, we're intuitive. I want us
Right.
to connect, all of us, but for women in particular, really be connected to our intuition and our inner wisdom. Do you think these tracking tools are they promote women being super controlled, or does it give them more access to their inner wisdom?
I think it confirms it,
Mhm.
right? Because
Okay.
I think at some level we all know, like we all know if we're not eating right, or we
Yeah.
know exercising enough. Like we kind of know it, we ignore it,
Yeah.
And so I think, and this is what has fascinated about women. I tell my wife this all the time. I'm like, your intuition and how you hear from God is like it's amazing. Like trust your intuition, because there's been so many times over the years. Here recently, we had a pretty big rainstorm, and my wife just had this intuition to tell our youngest son, like, "Hey, some of the streets kind of flood a little bit. Just stay where you're at." Of course, he didn't see it, and he ran through some water, and it
Mm.
cost him some money
Props.
because he had to fix that car. But it was like this intuition that kicked in, right? And man, I think women have an amazing how they're connected, especially with their kids that they've given birth to.
Yeah.
Like that, those connections never leave. And I'm sure you've heard over the years, or maybe even yourself, of like, if something's off with your kids,
Yeah.
like you just know, you're not sure what it is.
Mhm.
There's something, and so that intuition, I think, like these tools, it confirms the intuition of what we know we need to do. And then it again gives very simple tools of how we can do it. Because again, once you got your health back, it not only increased the level at what you operate, but that's going to translate to everyone around you,
Yeah.
right? If we're healthier and functioning better, we are better parents. We're thinking better. We're better professionals. It all starts there, because then we're not sick all the time. We're not calling in. We're not drowsy. Our cognitive abilities are operating at a higher level.
Mhm.
But then it also goes down to, I know when we started taking our health more serious, our kids are watching everything. And so then all of a sudden they're like, okay, maybe I need to be doing some of this,
Yeah.
and it translates out. And even on a professional level, what I really get excited about too, like I said, with kids, is what's the number one reason people miss work? Their kids are sick,
Yep.
you know, and it just translates into so many areas.
Clients, you got to cancel clients or whatever, like whatever, if you're entrepreneur or 9 to 5, like it's going to affect that once they're
Affect
not
it.
okay.
And
Mhm.
again, and if you, even if you're at work but worried about your sick kid, right, or you're not feeling good, we're not operating. I remember days
Yeah.
at AT&T where I felt like garbage, man. I didn't want to do nothing. I was not productive.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't want to do anything. And so, I think tools like this confirm the intuition that you already have. Like,
Mm.
you need to make a change. You're just not sure where to start. And so if we're confused about even where to start, we procrastinate, right? We don't want to,
Yeah.
we're just like, I'll deal with it later,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
until sometimes you're forced to deal with it. And that's where it gets even worse, because I believe it's always more expensive to be reactionary to your health, right? If you have a problem all of a sudden, or you're diagnosed with something, it's always going to cost more than spending a small amount on the front end to
Mhm.
prevent. I don't want to go to the doc. I
Yeah.
want to stay out of the doc's office. I just want to be healthy, and again, giving yourself like a natural holistic way to do that. And I
Mhm.
think that's where most people are going, and that's where all the trends are going, of people looking for a natural holistic way, again,
Mhm.
to age younger longer,
Yeah. Yeah. Increase that
and
health
to
span.
really
Yeah.
take control, because people are they're just tired, man. They're tired of being on, because most of the time when people start going down that road and they get on prescriptions, they feel like garbage. Like
Yeah.
it's not, and then again, and if you listen or talk to any real honest insurance person, people in those fields, they'll tell you, okay, if you get diagnosed with this, you're going to be on this script. Within 3 years, you're going to be on this one. Within 5 years, you're
They
going to be on
already
this
know
one.
from the
And,
graphs, like, they know where it's going.
and sadly, again, I think there's parts, I know there's some good doctors out there. So I'm not painting a broad brush, but when you really look at that industry, or you look at insurance, you look at prescriptions, do they want to cure you and get you off it, or do they want a client forever?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
does it benefit them to give you something to cure you, or well, cholesterol testing is a big thing for me. There's a lot of debate about cholesterol, but why does the biomarker keep lowering? Like the number where you need cholesterol medicine or get on a statin, it keeps
And my
lowering.
mom was just talking about that because she was like, they wanted to put her on a statin. She was like, I've never like that's
Right.
never been. And she said, she tried it. She's getting off that thing. She
Yeah.
said by hook or crook because the side effects. And then she started researching what they do. And this
Yeah.
was all because of a number where there wasn't really, it wasn't like there was plaque buildup. Like it was just a number on a test
Mhm.
versus something
Yep.
functional in her life.
Oh, your blood work says X, and now the standard, or now the number is
The
this, where
machine is in process.
this, now it's this. And again, if you think about the power of measurements, the statin drug market's 20 billion a year.
Mm,
It was not a thing before the 70s because they never measured it.
yeah.
All of a sudden they started measuring it and they're like, "Oh, well, maybe, and let's invent something that's supposed to help you," which most people, like your mom's experience, statins aren't good for people. Like it's
Yeah.
not a good experience. But yet, do you ever get off of them? Like it's super rare someone takes these statins for
Mm,
a small
mm.
amount of time and all of a sudden it
And then they're
corrects it.
like, "Oh, all right, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah,
take
you
you."
don't need it anymore. And when you have an industry where, some people in medical, they're paid to push drugs, right? The more you prescribe, the more money you make. Okay, is that a good industry to be in? Is that okay? Is it okay if that's part of my livelihood? Am I going to prescribe more drugs, or am
Mm,
I going to tell you to take this supplement, right? That can help you,
they can
right? Or
yeah.
kind of do that
And I think
holistic.
some of it is, like, the narrowness of the the field, the education, even in my field, psychology, like, sometimes you have to be that person that goes out and does your own research and
Mhm.
sees more of a holistic picture.
Right,
Versus like, because I remember one time I'm very, like, communicative with my doctors,
right,
and if they say something, I'm like, "Okay, but this is what I'm doing," like, versus just taking, "Oh,
right.
do X, Y, and Z." I'm like, "Okay, well, this is what I'm doing. This is the research I've done. Let's talk about that."
Well, for so long, that's been our psychology of like, well, the doc said I need to do it, I need to do it.
Mhm,
Versus really researching and saying, well, is there an alternative? Is there another
mhm,
thing? And I'm not downing a lot of people in medicine, because sadly, if you look at their whole education, if you look at a physician, they're lucky if they get 4 to 6 weeks of nutrition. They're
mm,
lucky. They just don't learn it,
yeah,
and I've had so many doctors, where I'm like, hey, well, I have access to this product, and this product is supposed to really help with X, Y, and Z. Should I take it? And they're like, well, it can't hurt. Like they just don't
yeah,
know. They're
mhm,
like, well,
yeah,
or when my wife's stepmom, well, when she had cancer, when they caught it, it was kind of everywhere. But
mhm,
we have some stuff that has been known to help combat cancer cells. And when we asked the doctor about it, it's like he was like so nonchalant about it. It's like, well, it can't hurt, but we still need to do chemo. We still need to, and he
yeah,
was pushing all the traditional stuff. And we have heard, and there's so many testimonies about people that, I mean, if you look at cancer by itself, cancer feeds off sugar. I mean, that's one of the
mhm,
number one things it feeds off of. Okay, well, what if you were to cut all the sugar out of your diet? And what if you were to give your body some of these other tools and nutrients it needs to help fight
mhm,
what it's supposed to? I know people that have gotten cured from cancer,
mhm,
and they took a very non-traditional approach. I'm not saying it's for everybody, and I'm not saying that, here's the cure all be all, but I personally know people that they changed everything about their lifestyle and their diets and started feeding their bodies different things that it needed to give them the best chance because they knew the alternative was literally injecting poisons in your
Yeah.
body
And that's
to
what happened
kill the
to, yeah, my grandmom. When she developed cancer, I was about 11. She changed, the whole family changed lifestyle to a macrobiotic, more of a Japanese-based diet, but
Mhm,
it's fermentation, meats, um, whole grains, fiber. It's a whole, and it's just a whole lifestyle, how you cook. She
mhm.
extended her life by 12 years.
Yeah,
And this was way before cancer treatment. This was like in the 80s. So it wasn't even as like advanced. And like, I think seeing that, I think she was my first life coach without knowing it, because I
right.
saw the power of
Yeah,
self empowerment. Like, yes, she still had her oncologist. She still did some chemo, like, she still did
right.
what but like the quality of her life for those 12 years.
Yeah.
And then she had it reoccurred and it had metastasized, but and she still was doing her thing. But it's like, wow, just the power of trusting yourself to say, you know what, I'm gonna change my lifestyle. And
Well,
this, and the whole family had to come along with it.
and think about this. This is what excites me about what
Mm.
we're doing as far as a wellness piece of it, because think about all you got from those extra 12 years,
Mm.
right? Now, what if she didn't change that? And what if she had a year? And
Yeah.
you wouldn't have got those 12 years of all that wisdom and love and knowledge and just
Yeah.
all that stuff, right? You said it's the first life coach without knowing it.
Mhm.
What if like she wasn't willing to do that and you miss those 12 years? How could your views be possibly different today?
Yeah.
But because she was willing, right? Number one, to love herself first, and two, start making those changes to where it extended it out. And then again, I'm sure there's things that you have done in your life and are still doing that is the ripple effect of what she did, and
Yeah.
that love and that knowledge and those seeds that she sowed into you that are still harvesting
Going through
that
my kids,
thing
yeah.
about, about what
Yeah.
we can do and how we can impact people's lives in such an amazing way. Because I think especially with family, I mean, we learn, we're a product of our environment, right, and of
Mhm.
our families, and to be able to do that, it's such an amazing blessing to extend quality of life to where you have it. I mean, like I joke with my boys now. I was like, there's all the time I wish my mom and dad were alive just to hear
Mm.
the wisdom and
That
the
they could tell
knowledge,
you at this stage of life.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, and because when you hear it all the time, you don't, you really don't understand, like, know what you're missing until it's gone, like, and it's like, man, there's so many times I'm going through something now. I'm like, man, I just wish I could ask dad, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like what's his advice on here. I don't have that anymore,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
to be able to again extend people's number one, quality of life, so they're actually living life to the fullest and have the energy, stamina, the again cognitive abilities to really enjoy life. But I know what that does to the whole unit, to the whole family,
Yeah.
and how again that can
And
ripple
the
out.
generations that,
Yeah,
like, the subsequent
like I
generation.
love talking to old people, man. Like
Yeah.
they're so
Yeah.
full of wisdom, they're so fascinating, and like their experience, people that have been around for 80, 90 years, like
Yeah.
they've seen some stuff.
My grandfather died, it was 6 years ago. He was 104, and we used to
Really?
just sit, and he was so sharp. He would just say stuff, and we were, like, blown away, like, "Man,
Yeah,
mic drop,
yeah.
nothing else to
Oh,
say."
yeah.
He
It's
would just
crazy.
give us, yeah, yeah.
And that's what again, I wanna live like him, right? Like,
Mhm.
I wanna be like that when I'm in my older years, and we can do it through nutrition. And what's really cool, again, about where we're going with this platform and this device, is we're going to be able to build a whole ecosystem on it and start measuring other things other than just antioxidant protection.
Mm.
And so to be able to really, if you look at, okay, here's your perfect digital twin, and you might be here, how can we get you as close to,
Mm, what's the
you know
pathway from
to where
A to B?
you're really optimizing your health
Yeah.
by giving your body exactly what it needs, because you and I are so different. Like, we're all so different.
Mhm.
That was my main gripe about honestly the COVID shot when they were saying it's all things for all people. I'm like, whoa, we are all
Mm,
completely, we're all dealing with different stuff. We all have a lot of different stuff going on within us. We're all
yeah.
at different stages of age, health, da 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 da. Da. I've never seen a one thing fix all type deal.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of, it was so new. It's like, we don't have any real data on this thing. I don't know about all this. But for you to say from pregnant women to kids to elderly, it's it's the cure all be all for everybody. I'm
Mm,
like, I've never seen that, like,
yeah.
in medical and or science, I've never seen that. So, like, why don't we pump the brakes here and really say, okay, and for most people, we know that if they lived a fairly healthy lifestyle, if they're getting good supplementation, their immune system was functioning right, they didn't have comorbidities, they weren't elderly or they weren't obese, yeah, you might have got sick, but was it going to be fatal? I mean, I've had the flu in the past where I thought I was going
Yeah.
to die. Right?
Yeah.
Like I've had a bad case of the flu, and I was like, it's horrible, but it didn't kill you. And so it's like, and then we started seeing some of this data, and that's why some of that stuff didn't make sense. And this again, where it got back to the distrust of medical, our bodies are so uniquely made that if we go in the sun for 15 minutes, it produces vitamin D, right? Like
Mhm.
our body
And
literally
wasn't that what they did during, because my grandfather was alive during the Spanish flu, and that was one of the treatments they had taken, and it decimated so many people throughout the
right.
world. 1918, I think. They would put the patients outside. They took the beds
Yeah, get them
and
in the
put
sun.
them outside.
And
Also
that's
for
where,
ventilation, but yeah, mhm.
yeah, and then you fast forward during COVID and they're like, stay indoors and don't exercise. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's, I don't understand what you're
Yeah.
saying here. Like,
Yeah.
we need to be outside and get in nature and, and just walk around on the grass and get in the sunlight and, and move, and I don't know. It was, that was where there were so many contrasting to like, what is stuff that has been proven forever.
Mhm.
And that's where, again, we scanned a lot of people during that time, and we saw kind of a direct correlation where people that scan low, typically got a low functioning immune system, they might have had it. I remember first time I got COVID, I didn't realize it, I even had it, but I did a workout and I was thinking, man, that was a little harder than it should have been. You're in tune with your
On your
body. And
lungs.
I'm like,
Yeah. Mhm.
it shouldn't have been that hard. I've been a CrossFit coach for 10 plus years. So, I do a lot of interval type
Mhm.
training. And I was just thinking, man, that shouldn't have been as hard. But I coached a lot of elderly, or I say elderly,
Mm.
older clients. And some of them, I mean, bless their heart, you'd think they smoked a cigarette as they're coming into the gym, right?
Mm.
And this was still real new. This was like February, March of 2020. And so there was a lot of unknowns. And I was like, you're hearing the news, you're thinking if you catch COVID, you're just going to kill everyone around you.
Yeah.
And so I was like, and I didn't really want to get tested, but I was like, I felt a responsibility because I didn't want to, give it to my friend Susie, who's 65 and a smoker,
Mm.
and possibly
With
hurt her.
comorbidities, yeah.
And but I literally, I did feel fatigue. I had a headache for 3 days. That was kind of it, and I was kind of over it. I did lose my smell for a brief stint, but it was kind of that. The second time that I supposedly had it, I get tested positive,
Mm.
whatever. But I thought I had a cold. Like I had a little bit of the sniffles, and I got over it fairly quickly.
That's what
And
happened
that's
at
where,
our house, right? Like, we all had it, but we kinda it was only because we went and got tested, but it was like
yeah,
how
which was
yeah.
weird. Like
Mhm.
again, I've never seen an institution where like force everyone to get tested to see if you have it. Normally, if I'm sick, I know I'm sick.
Mhm.
I don't need a test to prove it. But we really, what was beautiful about our business, especially on the nutrition side of it, is we were already direct to consumer, and we manufacture everything in the state, so we didn't have supply chain issues. So we could really help people that as they started being more conscious of like, look, I need to be healthy. So if I catch this, my body is in a state,
It's
it's a strong
able to respond.
right to
So
protect
it's
it.
the quality. How can you tell us that the guarantee of the quality of the, so outside of the scanning, the actual supplements? That's the thing, I think the part where people get stuck, like how do you know what to choose? How do you know what to have confidence in?
Yeah, and that's where I tell a lot of people, and I do kind of a pre-assessment scan with a lot of people because I want to know, are you already supplementing? What are you taking? kind of some of those basics. So if I scan them and they scan bad, it's a pretty good indicator of that they're not absorbing their supplementation.
Mm-hmm.
um, Now we call it a 6S process with all of our stuff that goes down from the literal sourcing of the raw ingredients all the way down to the substantiation. We do true third party clinicals on everything. So a lot of clinicians love the clinicals. The average person doesn't really care, but we do true third party double blind crossover placebo studies on everything. So we can really show what it says on that box is actually in that product and at a level that'll be clinically effective for your body. So there's a lot of times where these you'll see ingredient lists and the amounts aren't doing anything. It's not at a dose that actually is going to
The
help you, you
substantial.
know. And so we know we could substantiate everything that we're saying, and because our chief scientific officer, he joked about that all the time. He's like, we spend a lot of money on clinicals so we can actually prove what we say. And sadly, in the most of the industry, they talk a lot, can't prove anything.
Mm.
And we are a publicly held company, so everything's out in the open. And they wanted it that way because, again, there's my wife was actually looking at a product not too long ago, and she called the company and asked for the clinicals. She goes, "Oh, we can't release those. We can't tell you those." It's like, well, if you want me on your product, and I'm interested in some of the background of it to actually know what you're telling me is true, why won't you release that information to me? Like, it made no sense. So it immediately felt her like, well, something might not be a little shady.
Mm.
It might not
Yeah.
be good. And again, that's what I love about it, because if I scan someone and they scan good, I'm like, hey, what you're doing is work. Like, keep it up. Like, that's freaking
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
You're living a good, healthy lifestyle, and that's amazing. But again, we know, just again, we've been scanning people for 20 plus years. We know that most of the time it's they're just not getting what it needs. And again, if we want our bodies to function correctly, we need to give it. And like I was alluding to earlier, like we have a product called Youth. And for example, one of the ingredients, only 15 ingredients sourced from some of the best diets around the world. One was purple corn. Purple corn is phenomenal for the body. But if you're not in Peru, you're probably
Mm.
never going to eat it. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
not available. And that's what I loved about our company. It really sources ingredients from all over the world. When they're looking to target certain areas, it's like, okay, what product has the best effect about it, and then let's source that. And we're honestly a real pain in the butt to our vendors, because we literally test parts per billion as far as pesticides and just all the garbage chemicals. And so it has to meet our, even from the raw ingredient aspect all the way to the final manufacturing of it. So they control that entire supply chain to know exactly the purity and quality of the ingredient and where it is, because it makes a big difference. Like, most people take tea green or a green tea. They know
Mm-hmm.
green tea is a great antioxidant. It's a lot of phenomenal parts of the body, but what
But
most
what
people
green
don't
tea
know.
are we drinking, right?
Right. And the most effective and potent part of the plant is in the tips of the leaves. That's where the most of it
Mm.
is. So you and I, again, we could start a green tea company tomorrow and grind a bunch of tea leaves, throw it in a thing, and say, "Hey, it's green tea. It's awesome,"
Mm.
and it's not effective. So, like, our company literally hand picks the leaves and only use the tips. So, like, two capsules literally equivalent to 7 cups of green tea without the stimulant. And
Yeah.
so you're getting all the great, and you're really getting what it needs. That's why it's so potent versus, again, so many companies out there that they'll market it, but it's not effective. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about, again, the ability to measure. It's tracking. It's eye opening for most people, because we think we're living a lot healthier lifestyle than we actually are.
That's the
And I'm
part.
I'm sure
That's
when
the
you got
part.
your ring all of a sudden, right? Like,
I was
you
like,
got
wait a minute.
yeah,
It
like,
was
oh, whoa,
eye-opening.
I was
That's
doing
why
good
I
over here.
can't wait. I want us to do a part two of this where after I get my device and I kind of share, I'll maybe do some vlogging and share my experience and come back and share with you. I would love that. Like,
Yeah, it's gonna be
like
fun.
what my score is. What am I going to have on a red t-shirt? I hope not. Or am I going to
Yeah,
be closer to the purple? I think this conversation is so important. And I'm serious about that. We're going to do a part two
right.
because I think women need to understand that your health, your well-being, and you just where you want to be. I call it your self-actualization. It's
Right.
not it's not about control, right? Like you need to track, you need to understand, but it's really about your relationship to yourself. And we have to be honest in the health realm, our relationship with food and with like the environment and movement, and all of that starts with our mindset. And so
100%.
whatever we do to track, I see it as like an important tool. I know those kinds of things have been for me, but it's down to the relationship and
Mhm.
just to see how like your health, that's something that me and my husband, he bought me everything for my home gym. And I'm like, yes, other girls might want handbags. I want weights because I
Right?
just want, I want to be the best I can be for myself, but also for him, for my
For sure.
kids, for the next generation. And that relationship key part is like, I think the glue. Like, if we were just doing it just to do it, but like the why for me is the relationship. So
For
I
sure.
really, really appreciate this.
Yeah, and that's that. I'm the exact same way. You know, my wife and I, we love traveling, and I love to be able to just kick off one day and go on a hike somewhere, just
Mhm.
to experience this world. This world's so beautiful, man, and just to experience life. And again, but it all starts with us. And if we don't view ourselves as, if we don't love ourselves, we're not going to care. Yeah, like I said, it's so important where it starts, that head heart connection with ourselves of how we view ourselves. And then again, if you the what I love about the scores is it's so eye-opening to people, because then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I thought I was doing better than I did, and I do want to make that change, which is going to translate into everything, and again, it translates to all of our relationships and everything outside of us, but it all starts with us. You got to love yourself to want to be healthy, to
Yeah.
want to take care of yourself, to
Mhm.
want to be in shape, to be able to
Be
be
your
that
best self.
God
Mhm.
you to be,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's what it's that relationship with self is so important, and most people discount it,
Yeah.
and that's the sad part. They especially moms, right? Y'all are going to worry about everybody. You're going to put everyone first before yourself,
I
right?
remember
You
I
want to
had a dietitian who told me, because she would say, "Tell me about how you eat dinner." I said, "Well, after they all finish eating, I just put all the scraps, like whatever." She said, "If you don't stop that, you get
right,
your plate, beautify it, make it. You're not eating scraps off of your kids' plates. Stop
right.
doing that." And it was
And it's
transformative.
just that mom, right, that
Mhm.
you want to make sure your family's taken care of
Yeah.
at the detriment sometimes of yourself, and it's like, "No, you're as important as everybody, like, we want you here too, mom."
Yeah.
It's like
Not just for us
it's
to
like,
have our
you
plates.
know, but
Yeah.
it's that innate thing of, like, you'll put yourself last. Women do that sometimes, and it's like, "No, no, 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 you are every bit of as important, if not more." Like, I think I mean, that mom's the glue, man. Like, the
Yeah.
whole stuff together.
And we gotta take care of ourselves.
Yeah,
We have
because
to
if
take
you're
care of
not
ourselves.
functioning right, I mean, how many times do we know if we didn't get a good night's sleep, or we're feeling like garbage, or this, that, and the other, are we a little shorter with our kids?
Yeah.
Or not as present with them, or not want to
Mhm.
help them with X, Y, and Z. Like, it matters.
Yeah.
We don't think about it in the moment, but it compounds. And so, like I said, if we can help people on so many areas, whether it's aesthetically helping a woman feel better in her own skin, whether it's nutritionally, a little of both, where they're functioning at a different level and they're healthy, it's going to translate into everything. But
Yeah.
again, you got to love yourself enough to take the steps and to do, so you can be healthy, and you can be the best version of you, how you were created to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's vitally important, man. That relationship with self, man, we can't reiterate enough how huge that is, and that's where a lot of people miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
a
think
lot
that
of
is
people.
such a great place for us to wrap up, which is we can talk about health, we can talk about nutrition, movement, well-being, tracking, but it starts with love of self, relationship with self. I am so grateful to have had you to have this conversation. We went all over the map. I see you have a map and you have, I love it, the contrast. You have the American flag, you have the world map, you have Africa right above you, which I see like the birthplace of humanity. So
Yeah,
I think
we
it
go
just,
every year.
yeah. Where do you guys go?
East Africa and in Nairobi,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, we
Yeah.
have we have a big girls' home and a school that we do a lot of work. So we'll be there July this year.
Okay,
So
we'll
it'll,
have
it'll
to
be a
talk
lot of fun.
about that on the next episode. I used to
Yeah,
live in Botswana in Southern Africa, so
yeah,
always familiar with the safari and just
Oh, it's
like
amazing.
connection. And yeah, we go to Senegal a lot. So we will have to talk about that the
For
next time
sure,
you come
for
back.
sure. I love
Yes.
it, man. I'm passionate about it. I mean,
Yes.
Africa has my heart, man.
Yes.
It's an amazing place.
And do you
So
see that streamer, I Speed? So he, the young people know him, but he did a whole tour. You know, these streamers, these, I
yeah.
call them kids. They're like 20. He went to like 20 countries in Africa, and he started opening people's eyes to just the propaganda things that they, So yeah,
Oh,
we'll have to definitely get into that the
let's do
next
it.
time you
It'll
come
be fun.
back. We are going to put a link in the show notes for how to follow up with Jason, a link for the product. I'm going to show you guys step by step once I get my product, and then we'll have Jason back and we're going to like bring it all together. I
Let's
want
do
to
it.
thank you so much. Maybe 10 seconds or left. You had less. You have a word that anything you want to leave people with.
No, just really love yourself enough to take care of yourself. You
Yeah.
know, that's the biggest thing because again, you might not put a big priority, especially you moms out there watching or wives. Your husbands and kids want you operating at your best and want you healthy and want you to see you as we see you. You
Oh,
know, that's
that's
the
so
biggest
sweet.
thing. You know, I promise how your husbands and or kids are looking
Mm.
at you is probably night and day how you view yourself. Even ask them, "How do you see me?" And
Yeah.
right, and I really wanna encourage you ladies to view start looking at yourself as you see you and how God sees you, right?
Mm.
As this magnificent, amazing queen of God. That you know, like, really start internalizing that and operating out of that, and because the power that a woman has, and again, that intuition that they have and the impact that you can make on those around you, it is completely different than the impact a man can make, you know?
Mm,
So
please, I want you to
just
know
own it.
that, ladies.
Just
Yes,
own it.
yes, yes. I
Own your
love that.
greatness, man.
Own your feminine energy, your feminine
Oh,
power.
it's
Yes.
it's amazing. God knew what he was doing, and it
We are
is
unique beings.
it
Yes,
is powerful. It is powerful,
yes.
and that's where, like I said, women just own it. You know, step
I
into it and
love
own it,
it.
man. So,
Step
really
into it.
appreciate you.
Yes, step into it and own it. Thank you so much, Jason. We will see you next time when we have part two. And everyone, the link for the product, and just keep following along, because it's not just about one product, but it's just about what you use to track what you're doing. But it all starts from how you see yourself, how you view yourself, and what you feel you deserve. Thank you so much for joining. I will see you in the next episode of The Secret Formula of Femininity. I'm Dr. Nicole.